slow burn. Not gonna tell us a whole lot about what this movie is from the title. So let's jump to the IMDb plot to see what is going on here. An introverted college student tries to rescue a girl he loves from afar with unintended consequences as a childhood obsession manifests into dark fantasy. All right. So I guess that's going to give us a touch of a clue there. But we're definitely need a little bit more, and I'll get into that in a moment. First, to let you guys know, this was a screener review. The screener was sent to me. And even though this has already had its debut on RAD TV, which is RAD TV, so it's had its debut there already. Not sure what the future plans are for this if it were released anywhere else, but hopefully we'll be able to keep you updated on that as well. Do have a press release for this, so I will try to include that down at the bottom section so you guys can click on that if you want more information about the film. And you might, because this is going to be an interesting one that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to try not to stray off the path and kind of stick to maybe the movie and not get into too much of what is going on here. But this film is put out by B. Harrison Smith, and it is being put out as the first ever professional AI feature film. I know he worked hard on this project and to put all this together, and not to do it in kind of a, let's just throw up a bunch of AI, whatever we find, random stuff into a movie, but to really bring a quality product to horror fans in a new way, in a different way, and, using the technology. So, as I say that, and if you're not familiar with the film or what is going on here, I know you're kind of like, oh, well, let me forget this. Let me hit the button and turn this off. I don't want to hear about no AI movie, and I'm not interested in it, and so forth. And, everybody's entitled to that opinion, and that's fine. I think he is very aware that he took a risk in doing this. I think some fans definitely will just turn it off just because of AI and just refuse to watch. I can say that when I shared the press release for this, I definitely got a couple of those kind of remarks. Not in a nice way, just not interested, not ready for AI or so forth. Even with some other stuff that I've shared, as far as, promote horror, I not used any AI in a promotion yet, and I don't proclaim to be an expert on AI or anything like that. I've meddled and fooled around with a few things to maybe have some fun and maybe promote the site, and I've done that, and I've had a couple of remarks with that as well. So clearly some people are not liking it, not interested in it, and don't want to see it on social media or whatever, or with promotions or anything else, and so forth. Again, is all fine. It is that way with new technology, and like I said, I'm not an expert in this at all, to say the least, and anything like that. So any use of it by me myself is just random out there, and whatever, good luck with that. But I think, with him and what he's done here is to try to really bring a quality product and show that it can be done. And obviously, he's definitely into horror, so he can bring those horror elements to it, and that's his thing. So he's taking a risk here to do this. So that's kind of all. I don't want to get into a huge debate whether it should be done and whatever, and some of the things that people fear as far as jobs and so forth. Let's face it, it's here, it's not going to go away, whether we like it or not. And it's just a thing that, you may or may not, get used to, and so forth, and we'll see where it goes. It's kind of like CGI. I know a lot of horror fans have complained a long time about CGI and horror and the use of it. And, we all beg for the practical effects of the matter and so forth. And always still enjoy practical effects. But, there are some movies that have done well with CGI and just made it and done it in a better way than maybe some others, and blended it in and kind of used it as an addition to maybe some of the practical effects and just made it work. While others do it horribly, like shark movies, just terrible. Yeah, you guys know that I complain about that all the time. So, I think that while he might be trying to get ahead of the game here with this film and put it out there, and who knows, if he decides to do another one. And I'm sure that there are going to be plenty of people coming down the line now using more and more AI in their movies, whether people like it or not. So we'll see where this all goes. But it's fine if you guys aren't ready for it or not. If you're not, you're not. We'll see. With all that said, I really probably even said a little bit too much more about than I wanted to, because I kind of want to talk about the film itself, and not just about the AI in it. Obviously, touch a little bit on it, but let's talk about the film overall as well. So, a little bit about what's going on here is it is a horror film. There's going to be plenty of horror in this movie, and besides all the AI, like I said, you can get wrapped up in that. But there's a horror movie going on here, and it's going to touch on a lot of things. And we have here a young man here, who's definitely struggling away to find himself, find his way in his world. He's in school here, and there's a girl that he's particularly got his eyes on. But of course, as usual, she has her eyes on somebody else, and she's with somebody else. So he's kind of watching her from afar, and as he kind of twirls in his mind and his fantasies about her, he eventually goes to a party, a frat party where there's going to be, and he again, in kind of a stalker way, is keeping his eye on what's going on between this girl and her boyfriend, and he catches that hey, this guy is spiking her drink here with something, and with bad intentions. So he seizes the opportunity to basically save the girl, and he takes her away. But in an unfortunate turn of events, she ends up dying, kind of in the car when he's maybe halfway away from where they were. He had good intentions, or at least it seemed that he had good intentions in saving her. But once things go wrong with her as a reaction to this drug that she was given, he can't save her in the end, and she dies. And, he had choices to make there, but instead he does some odd things. And he kind of buries her with hopes of her coming back, and there's a whole story kind of behind that. And I don't know how much more further I want to go than that. There are some twists and turns here in this story, and obviously this being a new release and a screen review, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But there, we're kind of going down that avenue of him trying to bring her back, wanting to bring her back, and there's something going on in that case, and then we learn a lot more about him. And, I guess I'll take the opportunity now to kind of talk about how the film, kind of takes on him, and how it's kind of shot is, obviously is centered on him, and, kind of goes back and forth between, what he's really seeing, and then a lot of things that are kind of in his, what you think is in his mind, whether he's dreaming, whether, he's just kind of phased out, or whether it's just singly in his mind, as he's in a moment. We're going to see like random flashes back, even when he was little, random thoughts of him thinking about the girl, and kind of things like that. So the film is going to go through a constant process of that. It is going to be a little bit of what's going on in the present, and then these sequences where, it's either in his mind or so forth. It brings about a little bit of an intensity to the film. It's also going to, have some moments of blood and guts and so forth. I guess, more blood than maybe guts. But because of the coloring and because of the darkness of the film, you can kind of see that it's blood, but maybe it's something else. Particularly, something that they do repeatedly through the movie. And, if anything, that's kind of burned or slow burned into your head by the end of it, might be, this image of either guy or girl, basically what appears to be bleeding from a certain region of their body. That happens repeatedly throughout the film. And, as I'm all for blood and guts and that kind of thing, like, I was like, ooh, ouch. Or, just, every time that happened, as much as, you think that, oh, maybe I get tired of this as it goes on, just every time, just like, oh, that's just nasty. I think that, that might be one thing that's going to be burned in your head as this movie goes on, and burned in your head slowly. Every time, I'm kind of talking about it and thinking about the movie, that's the kind of image that's coming to. But like I said, it is more than just, displaying the AI throughout this film. It is definitely a movie that's, has a character here that's battling, to figure out, what is going on in his life and so forth, and through these images. And there's definitely a secret here that's going to be unveiled later on in the film. So if you're looking for a twist and turn, there is one here as well. It is also, the entanglement of, what he should do and his conscience and, his grief. He loved this girl, and now, he had all the good intention of saving her, and now she's dead. So there's also, a lot of different emotions that are played with in this film as well, from his standpoint. They're giving you also a character, what I thought was very interesting, the way it opens and the first kind of scenes you see, you're almost seeing it, as I took it, was, we're seeing a serial killer being born here, and that's, what we're going to see as this film goes on. But, you find out later on that's, not necessarily the case. Something else is going on here. And, I thought that was a nice, quick little teaser there. That because my mind, of course, goes to slasher movie and whatever. And, I'm thinking as the film opens, oh, that's, what we're going to get here. But then it's not really that. There's another story to be told. So I thought that was a little bit of a nice turn there, and I don't think that's a spoiler or anything, because you'll kind of get through that, early on in the film. So I did enjoy that element as well. So, but there's a lot of to unpack here with the main character, and he's also a main character where you're going to have those moments, where I guess when you think that maybe he's going to be a serial killer, maybe you don't like him. But, throughout the film, it's, do you like him or do you not? Are you going to root for him or not? He, had good intentions. The girl died. But, maybe he had other choices to be made. And, circumstances could have changed and things could have been different. So, how does that play in your thoughts for him? Obviously, there's some stuff that happens in the back half of the film, as far as, what happens with her. That's kind of interesting. I don't want to dive too much into that because I don't want to spoil it. I want to leave that element of what happens and what's to come, kind of fresh for you guys that do see it. But I did like a lot of that and the outcome. And I liked the way that the story was crafted and the twist and turn and how it kind of unveiled itself. And there's no, obviously, like I said, there's obviously a horror movie. There's definitely horror in it. Throughout those kind of flashbacks or whatever you want to call them, mind sequences, There are going to be some really, good images, creepy images, as I've already described one, nice and, sort of bloody, what you want to take it image. I would say maybe just short of jump scare, not at least in the typical way, but maybe just, flashes of certain things that are kind of thrown in there, which I thought were well used. Then kind of thinking of slow burn, I guess this movie in a way is a slow burn kind of movie, as we lead, in a well-paced manner to figure out what is going on here. Obviously, at some point, you may pick up on certain things and maybe where this is going. So I think, when everything is kind of revealed, maybe, it's not a shock and awe, but you might at some point kind of see what is coming, which is fine. But I did like, how it kind of came all together, and then, what happens, and interestingly happens with, the fate of these two characters in the end. I thought that was pretty good as well. So, very much, going to be a psychological film, and in what you're watching. So, like I said, I hope that you guys, when you see AI or when I share this or whatever, obviously, your first, especially for those who are really hating on AI, want to turn this off, don't want any interest of it. But, I'd hope that maybe at least one of you out there maybe watches this review, maybe can kind of put that aside and maybe just watch the film and maybe not get so tied into it. Maybe if you're really into AI and really wanting to hate it and looking for a reason more to hate it, and you want to watch it and to tear apart the elements of this movie that are AI and complain about it, and you want to go for that, I mean, that's fine as well. Or if you want to prop up AI and you want to watch this and pick out those elements of AI that you really liked about the film and throw that out there, that's fine as well. But I think if maybe you can kind of take a breather and take a step back and watch the film as itself, and watch it just as a horror movie, and maybe not get into, it's AI and obsess on that as you watch the film, maybe you can really enjoy a good horror movie here that's kind of been put forth. And an interesting character, and, kind of how the movie's kind of put together in these kind of flashbacks or whatever, and then the certain things that are used in order to get to the end. So I hope, with people that are giving reviews or watching this or whatever, don't get so hung up on the AI, and can give a fair evaluation of the whole movie regardless of that AI element. Again, I'm not an expert in it, as I said at the top, by any means. So for me to really sit here and judge, this is great AI use or not great AI use, or complain about this and that, I think would be a little bit of a disservice to you guys. I leave that to kind of the people that know what is good AI and bad AI, and more into that element, to really say, comment on that as far as this film and that element of this film. Like I said, I didn't think it distracted from me at all. I think that there were certain things to me that, definitely seemed, from what I know of AI, were clearly AI, and was like, okay. But I don't think there was anything in this movie that I saw that I said, oh, that is just bringing me back to the CGI days and bad sharks, and, oh God, why am I watching this? This is just like so fake and so terrible that why, and so forth. So I don't think there was anything there that made me, kind of cringe in that way, or be like, oh, in that way. So there were certain things that definitely to me were clearly AI. There were other things to me that maybe I questioned, what was going on in that respect. But again, I really didn't want to get bogged down on it, and I just wanted to just watch the film. And as it kind of, started going forward, I kind of got caught into, like what is going on here and kind of interested in that. And definitely liked a lot of these flashback kind of scenes, mind scenes, whatever you want to say. So I think, that's the best way to approach this as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, a lot of putting it out and kind of trying to market this and whatever is the AI in it, and making an AI feature film and so forth. And I understand the importance of it. But again, since that is not, my thing and whatever, I'm not, one to evaluate the film, really based on that and tell you guys a whole bunch about that. So, what I can tell you is I hope you watch this for a horror film and enjoy it for a horror film, and take that for what it is. Because, that was the best way that I could take it. And like I said, we'll brace ourselves for what is to come with the AI in the future, and take that. So with that, I'm going to give this one 3 pools of blood. I definitely enjoyed the horror elements of it and the horror side of it. Again, AI is not really coming huge on my rating here. To me, it didn't, in my eyes, mess up the film or do, anything to take away from the film in my aspect. Again, I'm not a grader of, I'm not an expert on AI, so I'm not going to tell you in what, if this thing the AI use, made it even any better either. I just don't know at this point, or know enough about it, or seen enough about it to know. I know that, the movie kept me engaged, and I'm interested in the characters, interested in the horror that was going on here, and the twist that was to come. And, that's why I enjoyed the movie. So, I guess the best thing I can tell you is if you've watched this review and so forth, and you're not really sure about AI, don't let that put you off. Watch the movie, enjoy it, try to focus on the horror of it and what is going on with the character, and don't get so bogged down with, whether you like it or you're not going to like it based solely on the AI of it. If you're intrigued and interested in that aspect of it, to see how it was done and how it's into this film and so forth, then go forward. Or you understand AI more and so forth, then, can get into it. But I would also hate that people just, hate on the film just because of AI and they haven't watched a second of it, or watch it and aren't really experts in it or understand it as well, and still hate on it just because they fear it or whatever. I'm just really encourage you to watch it because of the horror and because it's a horror movie. So again, that's going to be 3 pools of blood out of 5 for Slow Burn. And with that, horrorscorereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews written in video. Certainly tons of video reviews for a while now, so you can like, subscribe, and do everything else that everybody wants you to do here on YouTube. If not, no worries, it's okay. I thank you for your time regardless. Twitter, Facebook information down below as well. Feel free to reach out to me there. Complain about AI with me there and so forth. I'm not sure I can help you out, but if you want to, feel free. And definitely in the comment section, again, let me have it over AI if you want. If you need to get it out, that is fine. If you watch it and then you have a total opposite view and was like, I couldn't get over it, I hate the AI and so forth, and you need to just vent, just do it. It's fine. I've already seen some venting about AI already, so it's fine. It'll be okay. We'll get through this. So with that, I'll catch you on the next review, horror fans.